Hello and welcome to the McDonald's Hendricks County Sports Show on Audio Sports Online and XRB Radio, the voice of Hendricks County. Upcoming on this episode, we'll have a pretty big show here tonight. We'll have the privilege of talking to Avon High School football coach Mark Bless, and we'll also talk to a few of his players, offensive lineman Ross Carter and hopefully defensive lineman Joe Belton. We'll also review all the action from around Hendricks County from last week. The McDonald's Hendricks County Sports Show is brought to you by your local Avon or Brownsburg McDonald's. You can stop in any Brownsburg or Avon McDonald's and try one of their two $2 tasty specials, the jalapeno burger or the triple cheeseburger. McDonald's is a proud supporter of Avon and Brownsburg athletics and is proud to host the McDonald's Hendricks County Sports Show, taped Wednesday nights on location and aired Friday nights before football on XRB Radio 1610 AM. McDonald's has two locations in Brownsburg and Avon. In Brownsburg, they're located at the corner of Main and Odell next to Marsh and just off of Green Street next to Interstate 74. In Avon, you can find them at the corner of 267 and 36 next to Kroger or on Rockville Road next to Meyer. Today is Wednesday, October 15th, 2014. From the 267 McDonald's location in Avon, this is the McDonald's Hendricks County Sports Show. I am your host, J.P. Sinclair, and I'm joined once again by Avon head football coach Mark Bless. How you doing tonight, Coach?
Good.
Well, Coach, let's just get right into it. Looking back, your last loss was at Brownsburg almost over a month ago. You've rattled off 4 straight wins, and what's impressive is just the way you've been winning them by a plus 22 scoring average. You've been holding opponents to 11 points per game over this stretch. What has gotten into your team?
Well, I think we've made some improvements along the way. Not so much personnel. I think it's just fundamentals. We started understanding things a little stronger, maybe. But I think we're clicking a little stronger offensively and definitely defensively. Special teams play has been very solid. So I think it's a focus of the entire team instead of just one unit or personnel shifting. I think it's just a matter that week by week, I think our goal is to show improvement, make sure we get the work done in practice, and fortunately it's been paying off on Fridays.
Do you feel at this point in the season that your team's really bought into what you guys are trying to accomplish this year?
Absolutely. I think the players bought into our philosophy at the beginning of the year. I think there are just times where we have some mental lapse and can cost us some big plays. And I think our players are a little more tuned in to the details that we talk about in our scouting reports when we watch film, and I think they're starting to understand what we've been emphasizing a little stronger, and I think it's made an impact on our team.
Health has also been a major factor. I mean, you feel like your team's finally healthy at the right point in the season?
Yeah, we've lost a few players here and there. One of our players here today, Ross Carter, he was out a couple games with a knee injury. Zach Williams, who tore his ACL in the Brownsburg game, he played last week in senior night. And he's playing with a brace on his knee. Derek Tennant, he was banged up earlier in the year, and now he's getting close to full speed. So I think, we're getting some players back on the field that's helping us. But even when they go down, it's an opportunity for somebody else to play. And I think a lot of our backup roles have gotten better, which has now, going into the tournament, solidified some depth for us.
Well, let's go ahead and take a look at that Zionsville game specifically, Coach. And this was a very, very tough Eagles team who was coming off that big Brownsburg win that they had a couple weeks ago, and you thoroughly dominated them, particularly defensively.
Well, yes, very pleased and very proud for our defense coaches as well as our defensive players that we recorded a shutout against Zionsville. That's always a goal week by week, and that's a goal we had not met this year, so it was nice to get a little payback for our defensive coaches by getting the shutout. And I thought that we were on the spot. Defense really got to the football very well, and we created some turnovers again. I believe we're at a plus 15 ratio now on our turnovers, so that's very strong. And that means two things: our offensive guys are taking care of the ball, and our defensive guys are getting after it.
Yeah, you talk about those turnovers. Your team had 2 interceptions, one by Andrew Sajotovic, and one by Braden Luce. I know we've had him on the show before.
Right, Sajotovic.
And you also had 2 fumble recoveries, one by junior Griffin Blunk and another also by Sajotovic. You won the turnover battle by my count 4-1, and that kind of margin will win you a lot of games.
Yes, and it's been a big emphasis, and it seems like it was about week 4 in our meeting room. We keep 2 footballs and we put numbers on them. We got them painted up a little bit. 1 football's for turnovers, the other football is for touchdowns, and I think when our players see their numbers placed on that ball, I think it's a little extra inspiration for them to get after the ball.
Well, talking about that defensive side of the ball, your team had 5 sacks in this one, 11 tackles for loss. 4 of those 5 sacks came from the efforts of Rashawn Brent and A.J. Elcock. You really got after that Zionsville offensive line.
And both those guys played very well coming off the edge. They understand they just can't go flying into the quarterback. They got to make sure they set the edge to take away any kind of a threat on the perimeter. And then when they read the pass, they got to close in on the quarterback. And I think they're hard for us to block, both AJ and Rashawn. So it's really nice having 2 explosive defensive ends that can pressure a quarterback.
We joked about it on the Brownsburg show last week. I emphasize so much when it comes to looking at how these games are played out based on the offensive statistics. But, looking at this winning streak of yours, it's really, the offense has been there, but it's really been the defense that's been the most impressive during your winning streak.
Absolutely. And I think, to win championships, which we put ourselves in the HCC hunt, you got to have a very strong defense to win championships. You can score points, but, the fewer you give up, the less you actually have to score.
Well, talking about that offensive side of the ball, junior Brandon Peters was his usual passing self, 147 yards on 13 completions and only 20 attempts in this one. He also had 1 touchdown in this one. It was just another solid effort from your quarterback.
It was, and I think Brandon's doing a great job of managing our offense. But, obviously he's capable of making plays and making big plays in the passing game. But he's learned how to take care of the football. He's not just going to throw one up where we might get it or it might get intercepted. He's very good at reading coverages, knowing the routes, and making sure delivery of the ball gets in place.
What can you say about the receiving core you have this year and the way Peters has really started to connect with them the further the season goes along?
Well, I think very strong. We spend a lot of time making sure we run timing routes and we get to where we need to be. Andrew Griffin's very strong, being able to run routes, get separation on the coverage, and coming up with the ball. Braden Luce is also a very good receiver for us. Cole Wrightley's coming around. And, of course, our tight end, Matt Moore, and our running back, Derek Tennant, certainly figure into the passing game.
Yeah, that was one of the things I emphasized last week after that the game you had in the previous week was just how well, Derek Tennant, he was splitting the carries with Darian Love. Right. And then all of a sudden you look at it, on that game he had a majority of the carries, but he was also in the passing game as well.
Derek's a little more physical, has a little more size to him. He does a great job in pass protection, but he's got outstanding hands, so we want to be able to utilize that. Darian is a very good downhill runner. He's got some shiftiness. He's starting to get a little better at picking up protections. So, a combination of both those guys, we like that. We want to be able to use more than one back.
Yeah, speaking of both those running backs, senior Derek Tennant and junior Darian Love, they just continue to be a reliable 1-2 punch combo for your team. Tennant had 21 carries for 165 yards and 3 touchdowns in this one, and Love was no slouch either. He had 51 yards on 12 carries and a touchdown. And as a team, your rushing attack gained 5.8 yards per carry, and those are just impressive numbers, Coach.
Right, and I think you got to pay a lot of attention and credit to our offensive line. They do a great job communicating. That's half the battle is knowing who to block, obviously, when we see different fronts and different stunts. And I think our offensive line coach, Jared Johnson, spends a lot of times with our offensive line just going walkthroughs on different schemes. We're going to see different kind of combination blitzes. And then our players, obviously, after they communicate it, they got to be able to execute it. And they've done a tremendous job.
Well, up next for your team, you face an up-and-down Noblesville team. It's hard to get a good read on what the Millers are this year. They played a very good Fishers team close, but they also lost to a floundering HSE team, and they barely beat Brownsburg last week in what was a really memorable game. If you missed it, you can catch it on Audio Sports Online. That game did go into overtime, but you can view the archive footage of that game there. But this is a Noblesville team that they feature a unique 2-quarterback tandem. They'll each pass the ball and run with it. How hard is it to prep your defense for both of those players?
Well, I think it's kind of one and the same player. because they both, like you said, can run the ball, and they run a very good quarterback counter or quarterback follow, if you will, off the jet sweep. And they both run it the same, and they're both very well capable of throwing the ball. So, it's not like it's a drop-back quarterback and the other one's a slasher. They both kind of run the same offense at the same time, just taking turns. They do have some playmakers on the offense that we got to make sure that we keep in wraps, and we got to be able to contain and pressure the quarterbacks.
You hear so much about quarterback being such a rhythm type of a player, though, particularly in the passing game. If you're, Noblesville, do you feel like that hurts you?
I don't know. That's a good question. My concerns are that we limit both of them, trying to make sure we keep them out and making the big play.
Well, one of the biggest threats with the Millers team is also their receiving core. They have a number of different guys that can get the job done in that receiving team.
Right, they do. They've, and they utilize their tight end very effectively too. But their wideouts are good route runners. They've got good hands.
Good breakaway speed too.
Exactly. So we got to make sure that we kind of contain the jet sweep when they run that with number 21. I can't think of his name at the moment, but as well as being able to cover their routes.
Well, offensively, you look at for you preparing offensively, you look at a guy like senior Nick Santos for Noblesville, averages a sack a game. How do you get your offensive players, in the right spot to be able to try and pick him up, maybe double team him a little bit?
Well, the good thing that's a little more in our favor is the defense they run, a 3-3 stack, is our base defense. And, that's one of those defenses, if you don't see often, it's difficult because they got 3 down linemen, 3 linebackers stacked right behind them, 2 outside edge players that can come off the edge anytime. So it can create a lot of confusion. So fortunate for us, it's preseason and all summer, we blocked our own defense, which was difficult. So we do have some experience in blocking the 3-3. They played it schematically a little bit different than we do, but principle-wise, it's still the same. So we got to make sure we communicate, we get off the ball, and we don't play passive.
Well, I know, Coach, in this kind of business, you like to take it 1 week at a time, but we just have the sectional draw, and I got to ask you, you drew rival Brownsburg, one of the 2 teams to get a victory against your squad this year. Any thoughts or comments about that big upcoming game?
Well, like you said, we do take it 1 week at a time, and we've got ourselves in line to play for the HCC Conference Championship with Noblesville. And we talked to our players on Monday, because it was the day following the draw. I'm sure Brownsburg's excited with their draw as well as us, but we're worried about finishing up the regular season with the conference championship.
Well, Coach, wish you the best of luck against Noblesville and continuing along with the season into sectionals. We'll take a quick timeout, and then when we come back, Chris Worley will be interviewing Joe Belden and Ross Carter. You're listening to AudioSportsOnline.com, the McDonald's Hendricks County Sports Show.
Welcome back. This is the McDonald's Hendricks County Sports Show on AudioSportsOnline.net, brought to you by your local Brownsburg or Avon McDonald's. You can stop in any Brownsburg or Avon McDonald's and try one of their 2 $2 tasty specials, the jalapeno burger or triple cheeseburger. McDonald's is a proud sponsor of Avon and Brownsburg Athletics and is proud to host the McDonald's Hendricks County Sports Show, taped Wednesday nights on location and aired Friday nights before football on xrbradio.com and XRB 1610 AM. McDonald's has 2 locations in Brownsburg and Avon. In Brownsburg, they are located at the corner of Main and Odell, next to Marsh, and just off Green Street next to Interstate 74. In Avon, you can find them at the corner of 267 and 36 next to Kroger, where we're at tonight, and on Rockville Road next to Meyer. Stop in either Brownsburg or Avon McDonald's for their $2 tasty specials, the jalapeno burger or triple cheeseburger today. So welcome back. We do got a couple of Avon players here, and they're both seniors, so we know you Avon fans are going to be familiar with them a little bit. First up, Mr. Ross Carter. Ross, thanks for coming out tonight. Of course, you're number 64, offensive lineman. Play left tackle, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
Ross, how'd you end up being an offensive lineman? We know you came up, through the Avon Junior Football League program and all that, but how'd you get started on offensive line?
Honestly, in 5th grade, they saw I was a big kid, so they just threw me in there, and I stuck with it ever since.
Did you ever play defensive line?
Yeah, but only when I had to.
Okay. And I know you told me a little bit that, and you have played some guard too. Now, is that in high school too?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you kind of like the guard position better?
I do. I prefer the guard position. That was my last year I was guard, and then for the first 2 games this year I was guard.
Okay. And why do you like that better than a tackle?
Oh, you get the trap.
Ah, okay. Get a move and get some movement on those blocks. Now, of course, left tackle, very important position in football, especially in your pass blocking. Pass blocking versus run blocking, and we know your coaches have worked with you guys on that and in practice for a long time. But tell us a little bit about the difference between the two. Of course, run blocking, you're firing off the line. I would imagine you like that a little bit better than pass blocking. Is that right?
More often than not, yeah. Sometimes in the game, it's nice to get a pass set in.
Okay, so now when you're going on pass blocking, what are you trying to do there? You got to set your feet, and you got the lineman charging at you.
Yeah, setting to him, getting my eye on target, making sure I have a proper relationship to his body with my body, make sure he doesn't hit that inside move and get Brandon.
Mm-hmm. Who helps you on your coaching staff? Who's your offensive coach for the offensive line?
That'd be Jared Johnson.
Okay, so I'm sure you guys have worked a lot. You said your target. Is that usually like the middle of his body or middle of, in between the shoulders?
For left side,
blocking.
it's probably going to be their inside chest, wherever they are toward the ball.
And I'm sure in this conference too, Ross, you've played a lot of talented left tackles. Is there one or two guys that have, given you a little more of a task than any of the others? You guys play a big-time schedule. We know that.
Yeah. I don't really know any names for any defensive tackles, but
you're keeping your mind on what you got to do.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Ross, I just want to ask you, of course, and you're blocking for some talented guys behind you. You got Brandon Peters, Derek Tennant, Mr. Love, of course.
Yes, sir.
That makes your job a little easier, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Brandon Peters, how about him as a quarterback behind you?
He's great. I have a lot of faith in him. I know every play he's going to do whatever it takes to do his job.
Mm-hmm. Now, when you come back, you guys get to play, and then you get up to the line of scrimmage. Now, sometimes like Coach talked about this just a little bit ago, you're going to have to make adjustments, based on what the defense is doing. How do you make those last-second adjustments? Is that something where your center's calling out to you a different set? Or
the entire line is communicating at pretty much every play so that we can know what we're doing.
Right there when you're up on the line?
Yes, sir.
And is that usually done by numbers, or, hey, I got 92, or I got 78? Or?
Yeah, it's usually a pretty basic form. We point and say, I got this guy.
Okay. All right, and then I do want to ask you, of course, we see you on Friday nights, but tell us a little bit about your practice work. Now, you're a senior. You've done this for a long time.
Yeah.
Ross, right now as a senior, is practice still fun for you, or does it seem like work out there?
Oh, it's always work, but then again, it's always fun, too.
Yeah. And I imagine with the coaching staff you got, it is fun.
Yes, absolutely.
But it's hard work.
Yep.
No doubt about it. Okay. And then, of course, you guys, especially linemen, you put in a lot of weight work and conditioning work. What did you do this summer to get in condition to get going this season?
Well, to start off, we start the off-season about November, about a week after the season ends. Put in about 200-plus hours in our advanced conditioning class and after school. And
that's over the winter, last winter?
Yes.
Okay.
And then after the winter break, we started going Friday mornings at 6 a.m. for our pre-conditioning conditioning. Mm-hmm. And then in the summer, we're still going 2-3 days a week of weightlifting. And then after those weightliftings, we're out there conditioning again.
Does an offensive lineman, do you do much running?
Oh, absolutely. We do just as much running as the running backs, quarterbacks,
really,
safeties.
And is that short sprints for you, Ross, or are you doing the longer runs? A little bit of both, maybe?
We do a lot. Coach Blue keeps us pretty busy.
And do you ever do running on your own? I know a lot of you guys you want to stay in shape. So I imagine you're tired at this point in the season, but do you try and get some running in on your own?
Honestly, we don't have any off time to get in running on our own.
Okay, you're doing it all with the team. Good. Okay. I did want to ask you too, Ross. Usually when you're at this stage of your career, getting ready to wrap up your senior season here, is there somebody that along the way here in your football career that's really, really helped you develop as a football player?
Absolutely. You mentioned earlier our offensive line coach, Jared Johnson. He does a great job of not only making sure that we know what we're doing while we're on the field, but he also puts that drive in your heart that you know what you're doing and that you're proud to be doing it.
Great. Okay, and then you're coming up here now, and Coach mentioned it. You guys got a chance to go for a conference championship. Yeah. And, you've had a good year. Great senior season. We're all happy about that for you. What was your senior night last Friday against Zionsville, right? That was your senior night?
Yes, sir.
What was that like for you?
Oh, that was great. It's always good to win, but, having a defensive shutout, that's the cherry on top of the cake.
That's awesome. And your family was there and everything.
Yes, sir.
Senior night went good. So you got a big game now this week at Noblesville. Have you guys been watching some tape on them and getting ready for them?
Only every day.
Okay. And, of course, we know you want to get this done, but Noblesville, we saw them last week against Brownsburg. Each team presents their own challenges, but I imagine for offensive linemen, you just got to focus on what you're going to do and blocking your plays and doing your job, right?
Yep. They run the same 505 stack as our defense does. We're well familiar with it, and we think we're very prepared.
Okay, and I know, you had to fight through some injuries this season, Ross Carter.
Yes.
You missed a couple games, the Hamilton Southeastern game, the Brownsburg game. I know you probably didn't want to miss the Brownsburg game, but what did you have to do to get back in your conditioning and getting back from a knee injury there?
Really, it's just sticking to my physical therapy exercises, and I had that little drive inside of me that when we lost to Brownsburg, I needed to get back. Yeah. So that helped push me a little bit more.
Right. Was that some, lifting some weights on the knees, some light weights? Or?
Yeah. I'm pretty much back in heavy lifting mode, full sprint mode, everything. I'm 100%.
Okay, now you mentioned Brownsburg. You got a chance now. I know you, like we just talked to Coach, of course, you're focused this week, but I imagine that didn't disappoint you with the sectional draw when you see the Bulldogs line up.
Absolutely not.
Has it been fun to play against them these
Absolutely,
years?
It is every time.
Good. Well, Ross, we really thank you, for joining us here. Congratulations on being a senior. That's a lot of hard work in this program. So, good job and good luck this week.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ross.
Got one question. Ask him about his plans after senior. What are his plans after senior?
Yep. We always like to ask our seniors. I'm sorry. Thanks, JP. Our seniors, you got any plans for next year yet? You still got some time, I know. But it's only October. But what are your plans for next year?
I am going to attend college. I'm not sure if I'm going to play football yet, but I'd really like to major in psychology. Now.
Great. Do you have a target for that college about which one you want to go to?
I'm thinking University of Indianapolis.
Great. Okay. You'll still be here. That's good. JP likes to hear that. He's a grad from there. So, Ross, again, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Okay.
My dad and my sister went to UAB also. So there you go. Let's go. Yep. Joe? Ready, Joe? All right. See you tomorrow morning. Yeah.
All right. Welcome back to our show here. Now, Chris Worley, and I've also got a guy you Avon fans all know, done a tremendous job on their defensive line, is senior now, Mr. Joe Belden. Joe, thanks for being here. Your senior year now. Joe, does it seem like the years have gone fast for you? And here we are, a senior right away. Has it gone fast?
Yeah, it's gone really fast, probably too fast, and a lot more fast than I wanted. Kind of sometimes you want to slow it down.
Sure.
Enjoy it.
Sure. Now, Joe, we're used to you playing a big-time role in this defensive line, but of course, you've probably been in the Avon program for a while. Did you play some JV ball? You did, right?
No, I didn't play any JV at all.
I wondered about that, yeah.
Yeah, freshman year, I played all freshmen, and then at the end of the season, they move us up to, get us familiar with the with the varsity guys and stuff like that and the speed of the game. And fortunately, I worked pretty hard, and I think I'm the only freshman ever letter from coming up and practicing with the varsity. So I did letter freshman year, but I didn't play any.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I don't remember you playing JV, so that's good. And of course, we know you've grown. What's your height and weight right now, Joe?
Well, probably around 6'3", 6'3.5", maybe 250, 255. I move around a little bit, so That's about that right now.
Yep, good, Joe. Okay. Of course, you guys have had a big season now, Joe. When you come out on defensive line, and first of all, have you always played defensive line, or did they want you to play some offensive line with your size, or your speed and power at defensive line really help you?
I started playing defensive line whenever I moved up for varsity freshman year. I always played linebacker, fullback, and tight end. And whenever I was little, I played running back and quarterback. I was never really big. I was usually tall, but I wasn't really thick. So whenever they saw my frame freshman year, they said, all right, well, he has the size, he has the height to be a D lineman, and I thanked them for that because
it's paid off for you.
Yeah, it paid off a little bit.
Do you like to block and knock down some passes with your height? I know we've seen you do that, but is that something you try to do? Like, let's say you're trying to get a rush on a quarterback. I can't get there. You try and get your arms out?
Yeah, for sure. Definitely like teams that do like three-step drops. It's going to be hard to get a sack every time. Kind of what Brownsburg did. Yeah. It's better to get your hands up than not do anything. So that's something you look for.
And Joe, we always ask our seniors this too. Now, of course, like I said, we only see you guys on Friday night, but boy, you put in a lot of time in the weight room and practice and everything. So, how about your conditioning work? What are you trying to do over the winter and summer that you've done here in the Avon program to get ready for a season?
I'll do the same exact stuff I've been doing. Coach Blue does a great job with just turning you into a man. It's not really just the physical part. Mentally, he puts you in a position where you don't think you can go anymore, and he makes you go.
Yeah.
So, I don't think people really understand what we go through,
That's why we ask people. That's right.
Yeah, and I don't think it's for everyone. It's definitely not for everyone because some people come out and they can't handle it. But, Coach Blue does a great job, and I'm thankful for him.
Yeah. Well, those coaches drive you, but you got to have a drive inside yourself. Mm-hmm. And we know you do, Joe, to say, hey, I'm going to stick this out, and I'm going to keep working at it, right?
Yes, sir. It's in your DNA,
Yeah.
They call it kind of the killer instinct, so people call it, but I'd like to think I have it.
Right. Yeah. In this season now, you guys have had a successful season going for a conference championship coming up here. What was your senior night like against Zionsville there last week?
It was awesome. Just the guys I've been playing ball with since the second grade. Getting to see how people grow. Yeah. I'm really proud of the guys that just stuck it out. And, a lot of guys have been faced with adversity, and just to see them come out and stick with it and senior night with your boys, it's nothing like it, really.
Yeah, and then you guys pitch a shutout, so that had to feel good too, right?
Yeah, it felt real good.
Yep. Yeah. Okay, now you got this big game this week at Noblesville. Of course, you've looked at their offense a little bit. What do you think there, Jim?
Definitely some. They have some big play potential and stuff like that, and a very respectful team. We're ready just to go out there and compete. I think that's what our defense is all about. We have a bunch of guys that want to go out on Friday night and compete and put good stuff on film. Our coaches talk about other teams watch film, obviously, since we do. And what do you want other people to see about you?
Yeah.
So I think we're going to go out there and we're going to put stuff on film that we want people to see.
All right. Now, Joe, I want to ask you, too, on defensive line. We talked about with Ross a little bit. The offensive line has to constantly make adjustments against the defensive line formations. Do you guys do that too some? Are you going to maybe switch sides? Do you switch sides on defensive linemen?
No, not most of the time because we have other defensive end, Rashawn Brent, who
we've had him on the show. He's great.
Rashawn's. I think he's just as good as me. Yeah. I think Rashawn's going to get his chance to play college ball, and we don't really need to shift because Rashawn can do what I do, and he's really good football player, so we don't really need to shift.
And you got some pretty good linebackers behind you,
very good linebackers, yeah. You got Matt Thompson, junior, real good. Zach Williams, starting since sophomore year, very, very talented football player. Thomas Williams, very good. Young guy, Bryant Fitzgerald, who's another player to keep your eye on. I think he'll be a D1 guy.
Sure. Now, Joe, of course, we've put in all this hard work and practice time getting ready to wrap up as a senior now here. Is there somebody, that in your career has really helped you along, really pushed you and helped to make you a better football player?
I'd probably say all the coaches. Physically, I'd probably say Coach Blue just because that's what he does. Yeah. He really put some weight on me. Physically and like mentally, more than anyone, I think it was Coach Bless and Coach Bombi, and he's our defensive coordinator. I think they sat me down and they told me, you can take this wherever you want to. They said, you have the talent, and it's all up to you. And I think that the day that they sat me down and told me that was just the day that it clicked, and I said, I'm going to do it,
Great.
And I think that helped me a lot.
Well, you have done it, I'll tell you that, Joe. Now, we know you spent a little time this summer at a camp down in Bloomington. You had the Brownsburg guys were down there, you were down there, a few other teams getting some work. That had to be a fun experience on the Bloomington campus.
Yeah.
And maybe that leads you to kind of say, hey, maybe I wouldn't mind taking a look at IU.
Yeah, kind of all the way through high school and since I've been growing up. My dad was born in Bloomington and literally 5 minutes away from the campus, so you could kind of say I'm a Bloomington guy. I've been raised in an IU family, and really given the opportunity to go play football for IU was a blessing. Yeah. And I'm happy I can take it there, and I'm going to keep working, keep doing my thing pretty much like that, yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, the Hoosiers, they've been an exciting team. I was at their game a few weeks ago. They're putting up some good offensive numbers, and, Joe, they're going to need good guys like you on defense. So that's going to be an exciting opportunity for you.
For sure, yeah. I'm really excited. Kind of an emotional roller coaster team. You think about you come out and you beat Missouri, then you lose to some teams. Yeah, Maryland and stuff like that. But I think in the next couple years, I know it sounds crazy, but I think me and the other commits, we want to go to a Rose Bowl.
Sure.
Yeah, we definitely want to go to a Rose Bowl, and that's what we're looking forward to. But right now, I'm focused on Avon High School football,
right.
Playing with my friends I've been playing with, and that's what I'm focused on right now.
Right, Joe. Okay, you're going to get this job done now at Noblesville, and then of course, we know you're focused on that game, but I'm sure you got a real tough sectional to try and get through. What's it been like playing against the Brownsburg rivalry these past years as a senior? Now you got them in a section.
Yeah, it's been kind of crazy. A bunch of games. I've played with some talented people. Elijah Daniel. I played in the Elijah Daniel, Chase Dutra. So there's obviously been some talent on the fields these last couple of years. And over there, they got some good guys, and we got some good guys. So I think playing that Avon Brownsburg rivalry is definitely one of the biggest ones in the state.
Well, Joe, you got a good future ahead of you. We want you to go out here and have a big wrap-up as a senior and then get that job done in the sectional for Avon football.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thanks so much. Joe Belden joining us, everybody. Thanks, Joe.
Thanks, man. Thanks, man.
Good job, man. Really good job. Thank you. Good luck to you, man.
Thank you.
Keep going.
You too.
Okay.
All right, thanks, guys. We'll see you.
What you need? That you?
Yeah.
Sorry.
I'll tell you what, man. Once again, those kids just continue to impress. Another two great players. I'll tell you what, Joe is built.
Yeah, he is.
I've seen college football players, Division II players that didn't have that kind of frame.
Yeah, he's an impressive physical specimen, if you will, and he's got a real bright future ahead of him. And I would like to see him go down there and help that IU. The IU put up a lot of points now. They got a good offense. Kevin Wilson has a good system on offense. They're going to need players like Joe. I mean, that's pretty obvious with their defense this year, though, but they'll need him, and I think he's the right guy to help out their defensive line. Ross Carter, thank you so much for joining us. Ross, good kid, too. Hope he goes out big as a senior here. When you're on the offensive line, you're not going to get much notoriety and, fame. But we've had a couple offensive linemen. Brady, their center, was on here earlier this year, so they deserve a lot of credit. Yep, they deserve a lot of credit. Those kids work hard, so it's good to get the linemen on here.
Well, obviously, I'm joined by Chris Worley now. I'm JP Sinclair, and this is McDonald's Hendricks County Sports Show. Let's talk a little bit about last week. We continued along in our Pick'em Challenge, and last week's games it wasn't a very good week for me. You had number one Carmel over Warren Central, and so you got the first W on the board as the Greyhounds toppled the Warriors 17-10 in a very, very good matchup. In our next game, we both had Avon over Zionsville, so we tied on that one.
Yeah.
The Orioles really, they dominated that game, 38-0 in that senior night matchup. And in our final game, you had Martinsville and I had Mooresville, and the Pioneers went scoreless against Martinsville.
Wow, yep.
The final in that one was 42-0, and that was a surprise score in my book in favor of the Artesians. So it was a big week for you, Chris, and you now lead 9-7 in the Pick'em Challenge.
9-7, that's good. Yeah, I was going to say, I know I had two there. So, okay, this we only got 2 weeks to go.
Yeah.
AP.
So let's get straight to it. This week's 3 feature games start off with 7-1 Southport High School at 3-5 Columbus North. Now, this Southport team, despite that record, hasn't been dominant this season. They only won by 7 against Bloomington North last week. They lost the week before, 21-14, 2 weeks ago at Terre Haute South. And then Franklin Central 3 weeks ago played the Cardinals to within 26-20 3 weeks ago. So each and every single one of their games is close.
Yep. But they're getting it done on the win sheet. They're 7-1. Yeah, 7-1. Columbus North 3-5. Who picks first?
I knew you were going to ask me that.
I picked first
last week's game.
I think I did.
I'm actually going to go with Columbus North. Coach Bless, I was really impressed when I saw them play Plainfield. I think Southport has been scraping by the edge of their teeth, and I think Columbus North, particularly with their defense, is going to be a very, very good, very tough challenge for the Southport Cardinals.
Well, the series in the last quite a few years now, Columbus North actually favors it over Southport. They have a 10-8 winning record. Southport got them last year, and I think this is a good Cardinals year. Okay, yeah, those scores are close, but they're winning, so I'm going to have them keep winning here at Columbus North. That game is at North, so I'll take Southport, the Cardinal.
Our next game is 4-4 Greenwood, who has lost 3 straight, against 5-3 Whiteland, who have won 3 straight. So 2 teams going in different directions. Whiteland is without their big-time college prospect, Isaiah Callaway, who is no longer with the team. So this one could be a very close matchup.
Yep, Whiteland, oh, gosh, what are they? Oh, they're 5-3 in the conference, right. So, okay, this is my pick, right?
Correct.
Okay. Well, I've gone with Greenwood before.
And you've been burned.
I've been burned. I wish you picked first on this one. Greenwood right now is at 4-4. They have lost 3 straight. Yeah, it's got to be Whiteland at home. Whiteland.
All right, I got to make up some ground. I'm actually going to pick Greenwood.
All right.
I think Tanner Skill and Gallman, their running back, they're a great tandem running the ball between their quarterback and running. And I think they need to get back on track before sectionals. I think this is a good opportunity to do against a rival in Whiteland. Whiteland was very, very impressive, though. I will say that against Plainfield last week, as we'll talk about in our review section. But I'm going to go with Greenwood.
Yeah, I'm glad you picked this game. This is a rivalry game, and you forget about that unless you're, a South Side or whatever. Here on the West Side, we think of the big rivalries, of course, there's Ben Davis and, and Brownsburg and Avon, but that is a big rivalry game down there, so anything could happen. I see what you're saying.
And in our final game, we have 6-2 Bishop Chatard versus 4-2 Arsenal Tech. I've been burned on Bishop Chatard all season long, and I'm going to pick against them again for some reason. I'm going to go with Arsenal Tech in this one. I think Arsenal Tech has a very, very talented roster. Yeah. They're probably one of the better IPS schools that have a chance to do some damage in sectionals, particularly in that 5A sectional. So I'm going to pick Arsenal Tech against that tough Bishop Chatard defense.
Yeah, in the last 6 meetings, Chatard 5-1 against Tech. But Tech has been a surprise school this year. But, of course, I'm going to go with Chatard this week at 6-2. I think they've got a good chance in the state tournament here. So Chatard again.
Yeah, so if I go 3-0 this week, that'll be interesting.
Yeah, that could really turn it around.
But
9-7, you need 3, and then it'd be 10-9.
Correct. So I had to pick against the spread a little bit this week, try and get back into it before our final week.
You're going out
next
on a
week.
limb, we'll say.
Well,
that's good. You need
to.
to.
I have faith in my picks.
Okay.
Like I said, Columbus North, very, very good team. Got to see them play against Plainfield. I was really impressed. Got to talk to Coach Bless prior to the game. I really liked their defense. Greenwood was very, very impressive in the second half against Plainfield when I saw them play. And I really like Skill as a quarterback. He had such a great combination threat, and he read the defense very, very well. And so I can conceivably see both those teams getting wins. The one that goes out on the limb is Tech, because Bishop Chatard is a really, really good team this year. But at the same time, Arsenal Tech has the talent to be able to take Bishop Chatard on.
Yep, and Tech's played a good schedule, so you've got a reason behind your picks. You're not just coming out here shooting from the hip, JP.
Well, now let's go and take a look at some of the results from last week, and we'll start, as we usually do, with the Berg. The varsity football team hosted 5-3 Noblesville Millers last week. and it was a barn burner of a game,
Yeah.
a rare overtime game in which Noblesville had a 2-point conversion in overtime that gave them the 36-35 victory.
Yeah, I tell you what, that was an exciting high school football game. Of course, calling the game for Brownsburg, we were very disappointed for the seniors, and I know they were heartbreaking after that. But you look back at that game, that was a great high school football game. And there's a couple of plays stand out, and I didn't think about this play till Saturday. Noblesville threw a Hail Mary pass at the end of the first half with no time left on the clock. And it went in the end zone, got batted around, went in and out of a Brownsburg player's hand, bounced off another one's chest, and into the waiting Noblesville Miller's receiver hand. And that was a touchdown right at the end of the first half.
Got to bat that down.
Yeah, and you knew right then. Yeah, you're right. That's what the coaches said. We should have batted it down instead of trying to catch it. But, and that was, so you wondered, boy, is that really going to hurt them? But guess what? Brownsburg came out and they put up points in the second half. There were some big turnovers. Hunter Johnson had a big interception late that really hurt, but he played good. The team really battled. The poor defense really hung tough. Players made a lot of plays. A lot of them were seniors making plays. It's just a really hard-fought game. And then we go into overtime, and, Brownsburg gets on the board first, did the right thing. They kicked the extra point. Now, we knew when Noblesville does not have a kicking game. They can kick. I mean, you look at the stats. They made one field goal all year, and their extra points weren't good. So we figured, boy, watch out. If Noblesville scores a touchdown, they're going to go for two to try and win it, and that's what they did. Their quarterback, now you guys talked about their two quarterbacks. The one that started the game, and I forget his name right now, he ran anyway. We knew what play he was going to run. They snap it to him out of the shotgun, and he just runs it. And he's got good blocking up front, so he ran the ball in for that score in overtime. And then you figured on this 2-point conversion they're going to do the same thing. Well, they did, and guess what? He got in the end zone for a 2-point conversion. Noblesville wins over Brownsburg on senior night, a heartbreaking loss. Yeah, Mello, right? Yeah, Luke Mello. Yep. For Noblesville, and the Hardy kid did a good job for Noblesville too. Avon is going to have to look out for both those guys this week, but really a tremendous game. It doesn't sound like the Brownsburg defense played a good game, letting up all those points, but they really did. It was just a hard fought battle both ways. JP.
Yeah, you talked about it. I mean, the Bulldogs did a pretty good job holding a tough dual quarterback threat of Noblesville to under 150 yards. But they did give up 220 yards rushing to the Millers.
Yep.
Hunter Johnson was, I thought, impressive looking at his numbers, 205 yards on 14 of 22, passing with 3 touchdowns. And you talked about the lone interception, but occasionally quarterbacks are going to have those. You just kind of got to hope that he doesn't have it too much of those.
Right, and one thing we want to point out, and one of the coaches I talked to said this too, and we noticed it in the broadcast booth, is how are you going to respond to, and this was a interception in his own territory that Noblesville ran back for a touchdown. I think it was the fourth quarter. How are you going to respond to that? Well, he came out on the next drive after Noblesville kicked off. Brownsburg went the length of the field, 80 yards, got a touchdown, and Hunter was 3 out of 3 passing on that drive. So a great response to getting intercepted by the sophomore quarterback.
Yeah, I'm not too sure how overtime works in the high school level. Do they have a chance?
It was interesting. Yeah, it's just like college, except you do it from the 10-yard line.
Okay.
Same thing. You just do it from the 10. So, and you got 4 plays, of course, from the 10. But it was well done. It was exciting.
Tokes Akinrabadi ran for 2 scores on 29 carries for 144 yards as well. The team will travel to Hamilton Southeastern this Friday to face a 3-5 Royals team. Still a dangerous team, but they have floundered this year. Yeah,
this is a good chance for Brownsburg to wrap up the season with a road win, but so many things have gone against the Bulldogs this year that it's just everything's been tough right now. It just seems like can't get a break. They really should have won the Noblesville game. Just had some bad breaks, and things happened to them, but just seems like on this losing streak it's going to be very tough for them to break. So hopefully the Bulldogs can get it done on the road at Southeastern, but it's never easy up there. I don't care what their record is.
Yeah, good luck with the construction up there.
Yeah, I know. Nobody wants to travel up there either.
It took me it actually took me an hour and 5 minutes for a 45-minute drive to drive from my home in Avon all the way up there to call Hamilton Southeastern. It was the second game of the year when they faced North Central, and that was not a competitive matchup at all. The boys cross-country team for the Brownsburg Bulldogs saved really their best performance of the year for the sectional championship Saturday morning at the challenging South Putnam course, claiming the first-place trophy over county rival Avon by a score of 32-40. Harry Sathamurthy sprinted across the finish line as the individual sectional champion, followed shortly thereafter by Mark Bond and Seth Webster in 3rd and 4th places. Individually, Webster earned Dog in the Meat honors with his extraordinary race, and the boys are up next at Ben Davis High School this Saturday for the regional champions.
Yeah, that was tremendous in that sectional. Brownsburg won over Avon by 8 points there. Coach Brett Nalon, I know he's got to be happy. That was kind of an upset win for those guys, but now they're going to go to regionals. Should have good weather Saturday. That was an exciting sectional win for boys cross country at Brownsburg.
Yeah, I believe the top 5 teams from sectionals advanced to the regional round.
Okay.
So
right.
It's on to regional action for the girls cross country team as well, as they placed 3rd out of 12 teams.
Yeah.
Here it is, easily making into the important top five to advance out of sectionals. On a hilly and wet course, the girls ran among some of the best runners in the state, placing 3 runners in the top 10. And the Bulldogs were once again led by Julia Popenfoos in 5th place overall. She edged out and had a very strong finish down the stretch. Cassidy Brown and Cindy Montgomery were right behind as they picked up 8th and 9th places, respectively. The team will continue their postseason run as they now head on to that Ben Davis Regional on Saturday. So congratulations to both girls and boys cross country to advancing to regionals.
Yeah, that's going to be a busy day and a lot of people there at this regional at Ben Davis this coming Saturday for boys and girls cross country.
The Brownsburg, the Volley Dog team, defeated Tri-West last Wednesday night 3-0 to improve to 18-6 on the season. The offense was led by, I think it's Michaela Hoffa and Alyssa Brown with 9 and 7 kills apiece. Allie Byers distributed 26 assists in the match. The defense was led by Riley Cookerly once again with 19 digs. The volleyball team also finished their HCC schedule with a 3-0 victory over Noblesville last Thursday.
On the road.
The Volley Dogs finished with a 5-1 mark, good for 2nd place. The offense was led by Avery Brown with 10 kills. Claire Hathaway and Brooke Gregory added 8 apiece. Claire Hathaway once again did her part on defense with 7 blocks.
Yep. And here's the schedule again. Now, that was midweek last week. Now, look, they have you have it here next. They had to play a tournament on Saturday.
Yep. Volleyball team won the Clinton Prairie Invite Saturday to bring their season record to 22-6. They beat Cowan 2-0, Clinton Prairie 2-0, and then they beat number 7 Providence 2-0 in the championship round.
Yeah, didn't drop a set all day there.
Yep. They also improved to 23-6 with a 3-0 victory over ranked Western Boone. The offense was led by Avery Brown with 13 kills. Brooke Gregory and Michaela Hoffa had 10 and 6 respectively, and Allie Byers had 36 assists in the match. Defense was led by Bailey Work this time with 8 digs, followed closely by her old compadre, Riley Cookerly, who did a lot on the defensive side of the ball for them. And Avery Brown also had 7 and 5. So getting the job done.
Yeah, about to wrap up their season here for sectionals. They got a home match tonight against Mooresville, and then tomorrow they host Speedway, and then it's sectional play, and I think that starts next Tuesday. And their sectional draw, I believe, has them at Mooresville.
Yeah, I haven't checked that quite yet.
Yeah, so. I posted this week on Twitter, and we have quite a few followers at the school on the volleyball team. This volleyball team may be the story of Brownsburg, best story in the high school season of Brownsburg fall sports. Okay, now the cross-country team's done great. Football team struggled here a little bit now, but this volleyball team may be the story of Brownsburg high school fall sports.
Yeah, let's go ahead and talk about the soccer teams. Brownsburg boys soccer fell in sectional play 2-0 to a very good Avon team.
Sure.
Avon is 17-1-1 on the season, so we knew that was going to be a tough matchup. The girls' team also drew Avon in sectional play, and they lost 0-5 in their sectional matchup.
Yep, that wraps up the soccer season for Brownsburg.
Let's go and take a look now at Plainfield High School. The Plainfield football team lost to Whiteland 17-34 last Friday to drop to 2-6 on the season. The final score of that game does really not do justice, though, to how close this game was. Whiteland did pull away late, but it was a tight game, 17-all in the fourth quarter. But Plainfield just ran out of steam. The sweeping attack of Junior Shaw Cloud and Junior Brian Patterson combined for 33 carries, 347 yards, and 3 touchdowns in that one for the Whiteland Warriors, who were quite impressive. And the longer the game went, they just seemed to get more and more energy. Yeah.
And, it seems like from your description, I know you see all the games. Plainfield's, they've improved as the season's gone along.
Oh, yeah.
Now, the record doesn't show it, but they've improved, right? Wouldn't you say, JP?
There were some of those games, like the Mooresville game, the Decatur Central game, the Roncalli game, towards the middle of the year. They were pretty brutal.
Yeah.
And you could tell that they were banged up, they were injured, they were young. But as the season's gone along, you become more and more experienced. You figure out what your job is. And if the team continues to buy into, Coach Woodard and what he's trying to do, in the offseason. That's where state championships are made.
Yeah,
is
you're
in
right.
the offseason. So
Yeah.
if this young team can buy into what Coach Woodard is selling over the offseason, they could have and it wouldn't surprise me if they get a sectional. They got Danville in sectional, so they've already beat Danville once on the season, so it would not surprise me if they beat Danville to advance in sectional play. But it's a tough sectional when you got Bishop Chatard and Roncalli in it. Yeah,
that is. But they have a chance against Danville, and you mentioned it too. That's important when you're struggling like this, 2-6. Your coaching staff's got to hold the team together, and it sounds like they've done that. We saw this with Brownsburg last year. They after a 9-0 season, they went 3-7. Now there's a lot of players that can give up and whatever, and these coaching staff, that's your toughest work. It may be easy. It sounds crazy. It may be easy to be a coach of a 8-1, 9-0 team. You do your hardest work when you're struggling. You're 2-6, the town and everybody's down on you, and 3-7, your team's struggling. That may be your hardest work as a coach.
Yeah, and I think Coach Woodard has gotten his team, inspired to play ball.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Colin Nicewonder, I've been a little bit hard on him this year because he doesn't have this world's strongest arm. But as the season's gone along, he's becoming a lot better at the intermediate passes. It used to be you just see nothing but screen passes from him.
Yeah.
But as the season's gone along, he's gotten a lot more confidence with a lot of the younger receivers on the team, including Gavin Ritter and Dante Keys. Both are sophomores. So I think that because it's also a young receiving core, that's also hindered Plainfield.
Yeah, they've developed as they've gone along, so good.
Boys cross country, Plainfield finished 8th in their sectional matchup at South Putnam. Bailey Watson was the lone, I think it's Bailey Watson was the lone top 20 finisher for the Quakers with a time of 18 minutes over the 5,000-meter course. The girls cross country team advanced 2 regionals with a second-place finish in the sectionals at South Putnam over the same course. Plainfield had 4 top 20 finishers, including Samantha Olinger in 7th place with a time of 20 minutes and 36 seconds. Marina Fell and Dara Smith finished in 10th and 11th place, respectively, so they will advance to the regional round.
Yep, good work.
The Quaker Ladies varsity volleyball team is now 20-10 on the season following a 3-0 win at Whiteland. The team got 11 kills from senior Mallory Wright. Sophomore Lydia Lewis was the leading digger with 6, and senior Haley Alexander distributed 26 assists in the matchup. They are back in action against Northview tomorrow night before sectional play starts.
Yeah, I was going to say, they'll probably have their sectionals. Yeah, it all starts next week, volleyball sectionals.
Lastly, now let's go and take a look at Avon High School. The Avon football team dominated 2-6 Zionsville last week.
Yeah.
The final in that one was 36-0 in favor of the Avon Orioles. Avon improved to 6-2 on the year following the victory. We talked with Coach about this one, but the offense was really standard in this one. It was the defense that was most impressive, Chris.
Yeah, that's right. Those guys did a good job, and their defense has just continued to develop. Really impressed with this Avon team. I think they're ranked number 6 now, I saw, in 6A in the state. So great job by Coach Bless. At the beginning of the season, we kind of wondered, where's this team headed? Well, like you said, they've reeled off a bunch of wins here in a row, and I think they could make a tournament run. Of course, this sectional, they most likely will get past Brownsburg. It'd be very difficult for Brownsburg to beat them 2 times in the same season. We all know that. And then you're going to probably face Ben Davis. That would be the expectation. And, of course, that's as tough as it gets. But I believe Avon and Coach Bless can win that sectional, and we'll see from there.
Well, here's the important thing when you think about that. You faced Brownsburg once, you lost. You faced Ben Davis once, you lost. You already have film on how you matched up with them.
Very good point.
And you can make adjustments based on the film that you've seen most recently from those teams this season.
Yep, and of course, and we mentioned this too, your players have extra motivation. Hey, these guys whooped us. We're getting them back, and this is our chance to do it, both in the Brownsburg case and if they have to play Ben Davis, that's the case too. You don't want to get out. I don't want to give up on Pike against Ben Davis, though. Pike's had, a very tough season. We've talked about him all year.
Just went down, though.
That's right. Trudeau is hurt.
Trudeau is hurt, and they've had a rough season. I've talked about it all year long. Pike's in that brutal schedule they had to start the year, but I don't hold much hope for them, particularly with Trudeau out.
Well, this game, Coach, and you talked about, this is not to be overlooked. Noblesville, Avon at Noblesville. Hopefully they can go up there and get it done. Of course, it's on the road, and the road challenges don't phase these Avon kids. They're tough, but Noblesville can be dangerous, and they can do some things.
Who does Fishers play this week?
Fishers is at Zionsville. You'd think Fishers is going to win that one.
So if Avon and Fishers, they might tie for it.
Yeah, that's what I figured. That's when I looked at it. That's what I saw.
But they have the tiebreaker because Avon won.
Right. Both Avon and Fishers are 6-2. Noblesville 5-3. Westfield 4-4. Hamilton Southeastern and Brownsburg 3-5, and Zionsville at 2-6. So it looks like Fishers and Noblesville. Fishers and Avon to finish at 7-2. That's what I see. And what'd you say about tiebreaker?
Avon beat Fishers, so
yep.
Does that count as the tiebreaker?
Playing for the conference championship, Avon is.
Yeah, so, and don't sleep on Westfield. Even though they're 4-4 on the year, this is the same team that went to the state championships last year and fell to Cathedral. And if they get back to semi-states this year, that means they'll bump up to 5A or 6A next year.
Yeah, I'm anxious to get this tournament going. The football tournament is exciting now. Of course, in Indiana, we love the basketball tournament, but this is going to be big. There's a lot of great teams here in Central Indiana. The sectionals around here are very good.
Let's go and talk a little bit of soccer with Avon. The girls' soccer team plays at Brebeuf Jesuit, and regional play tonight at 7 p.m., so that one's actually already underway. Brebeuf is an impressive 21-0 on the year.
Wow.
And this is a Brebeuf team that has twice the amount of goals on the year that Avon has, and in half the shots. So
well, I wonder.
Brebeuf takes half the shots that Avon does, but has twice the amount of goals.
Well, what an offensive juggernaut, if you will. What do you do if you're, Avon team or playing against Brebeuf? Do you try and hold the ball in your own zone and, keep them back and, just let your goalie get kickouts from the goal? I don't know. That's tough.
That would be you probably want to play a very, very
everybody
very defensive ball control type of game on that one.
I would think so. You don't want to stretch them out and run them up and down the pitch.
The Avon High School boys team faces Brebeuf Jesuit as well in regional play tomorrow at 5 o'clock. Brebeuf is 15-4 on the season. Brebeuf is a solid offensive team also on the boys' side that has almost 5 times the shots on goal that Avon does.
Yeah.
So both those teams are offensive juggernauts for Brebeuf.
Yeah. We do want to mention, that they won their sectional, Avon boys over Mooresville 1-0. Goal by Trevor Semikula. In that, gave them that win. Coach Phil Schmidt and his Avon boys soccer team ready now for regional.
Boys tennis finished their season with a second-round regional loss to Park Tudor. They beat Zionsville 3-2 before falling 4-1 to Park Tudor. Park Tudor went on to make it to semi-states. No surprise there. Park Tudor, one of the best tennis teams in the state and always has been.
Park Tudor, I think they've been in the regional for 50 straight years, it seems like it. But what a season by Avon Tennis. That was their best in a long time. That was their first sectional championship in a long time, so congratulations to Avon boys tennis. They had a good group of seniors there, and they did a heck of a job. I'm sure they're disappointed losing the tournament, but who doesn't lose to Park Tudor? So that's a great, great season by Avon Tennis.
The girls' volleyball team won at Zionsville 3-0. They also played in the Columbus East Invite, beating Jasper 2-0, Muncie Burris 2-0, and then they lost to Franklin Community 0-2 before beating Christian Academy 2-0. They play at Ben Davis tonight, and then they start sectional play at Terre Haute North Vigo in the state tournament next Thursday at 7.
Yeah, of course, in Avon volleyball, they've been state champs, so they haven't had the season they would like as far as records concerned, but you watch out in this tournament, I would not want to meet up with them.
All 3 of the schools that we cover here on the McDonald's Hendricks County Sports Show have had great volleyball teams this year.
Yeah.
Brownsburg, Plainfield at 20-10, Avon, all 3 have really had a spectacular volleyball season.
I don't want Brownsburg to have to go up against Avon.
Well, let's go and talk a little bit about the standings and the Sagamore Conference and where Tri-West stands and their sectional draw.
Good. We got it right here. Big week for Tri-West now. They're 7-1. Webo is at 6-2. Lebanon 5-3. North Montgomery 5-3. Danville 4-4. Frankfort 2-6. Southmont 2-6. And Crawfordsville 2-6. Tri-West should get a win this week because Crawfordsville is at Tri-West. And Tri-West is rated number 6 in 3A. So I think Tri-West, and we've already heard about several local media saying they've got a chance to go all the way to the stadium for the championship.
Yeah, I read Kyle Niederkamp's articles on 6 things to watch. That's where I got the Westfield plug that they'll move up.
Yeah,
if they get a certain draw. I think Cathedral moves up if they make regionals, which is highly likely. So they might become a 6A school. I think the only team that can really stop them in 5A is Decatur.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward because I think that will be a good matchup.
Yeah, sure would. Coach Chris Call, of course, he's had another great season here at Tri-West, and our favorite quarterback here in Hendricks County, Jake Hendershot. Great year for Tri-West. They're going to be 8-1 after this week. I don't see any way that Crawfordsville wins that game. So, and then let's see, do we have their Their sectional is Tri-West at West Vigo. Yeah. And that's on Friday, October 24th. I don't know anything about West Vigo yet.
Well,
Western Boone is at North Montgomery. Danville is at Plainfield, as JP mentioned. Chittard is at Lebanon. But, yeah, Tri-West is at West Vigo. Their first sectional game on Friday, October 24th.
West Vigo, the West Lafayette Vikings. They're 2-6 on the year, 1-4 in their conference, 252nd ranked in the state. So they haven't had the best year. They play in the Western Indiana Conference.
Okay, there we go. So Tri-West has a good opportunity to go a long way in this tournament, like we would expect. Tri-West football.
Yeah, and West Vigo's lost 5 straight. Their lone win was in their conference. So
looks good for Tri-West Bruins football.
Well, that'll just about do it for the show, unless you have anything else to add, Chris.
Nope, we're all good. Been exciting here. This is the big. We're going to wrap up these regular season play of football this week. It sure has gone fast, JP. But a big week here for Brownsburg, Plainfield, and Avon. Look to see if Avon can win a conference championship.
Yeah, I think they have a very good chance to do it, particularly when you like we talked about. I mean, they've just been, during this 4-game winning streak,
awesome.
They have been dominant.
Yep, defense has been great. Joe Belden, those guys, fantastic.
Well, the McDonald's Hendricks County Sports Show is written by me, J.P. Sinclair, and produced and distributed by AudioSportsOnline.net. Music from tonight's show is provided from Mebio's Music Alley. You can check them out at music.mebio.com. I want to give a special thanks to head coach Mark Bless for joining us today, and also for bringing a few of his players, Joe Belden and Ross Carter.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
We want to thank them for coming out and spending some time with us. Our next and final show will be in the Brownsburg Main Street location next to Marsh. We record on location on Wednesdays, with the show airing on xrbradio.com 16:10 a.m. Friday prior to football game time.
Just one thing, I want to thank Coach Mark Bless. You know, that was his last time visiting with us this year, and he's just been fantastic. Comes out each week, brings us some players. Of course, he's a great interview. So, and we're glad he's had a successful season. Thank you very much, Coach Bless.
Yep, I second those sentiments.
Thanks, McDonald's, for hosting us here in Avon.
Yep. You can send any feedback, or if you have questions or comments you'd like to hear talked about on the show, you can send those to hendrickscountysports@gmail.com.
Love it.
Created a Gmail account for the show.
Good.
Or you can follow me on Twitter at SinclairJP.
Give us that again, Hendricks County?
hendrickscountysports@gmail.com. I figured it was going to be simple and sweet.
Good, like it.
Thanks to you for tuning in. Until next time, I'm JP Sinclair for Chris Worley, hoping you support high school athletics as much as we do.